Welcome. Today we're breaking down Integrated Marketing Communications, or IMC. Now, whether your career path leads you to a global headquarters like Bank of America down in Charlotte, or you're building a brand new venture right here in the Appalachian region, trust me, mastering IMC is a fundamental professional competency. So let's get into it. Okay, so here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll cover the core principle of consistency, the IMC mandate. Then, we're going to dissect the actual mechanics of communication. From there, we'll get into the strategy behind it all, the objectives, the tools you'll use, how to amplify your message in today's world. And finally, we'll take a critical look at the role promotion plays in our society. So first things first, let's establish the foundational concept that really underpins all effective modern marketing strategy, and that is consistency. At its heart, IMC is all about delivering one single unified message across every single place a customer might interact with your brand. The real goal here is synergy, making sure your advertising, your social media, your sales team, your PR, that they're all singing from the same hymn sheet. Because when they do, the whole becomes so much more powerful than the sum of its parts. You know, the need for IMC is really driven by just how complex the modern market is. Your audience isn't just sitting on the couch watching TV anymore, right? They're on a dozen different platforms. And that fragmentation absolutely demands a coordinated approach. Plus, with the rise of powerful analytics, there's this intense pressure to prove that every single marketing dollar is actually working. IMC gives you the framework to manage all that complexity and show your value. All right, so let's move from the why to the how. We're going to get a little technical now and really dissect the mechanics of communication. Because understanding this model is absolutely critical for figuring out why a campaign connects, or more often than not, why it completely misses the mark. You know, the failure point often isn't the creative idea itself. It's usually a technical breakdown somewhere in the process of getting that message from the company to the customer. Let's trace that journey to see exactly where things can go wrong. Think of this model as the entire life cycle of a marketing message. And it all begins, of course, with the source. That's the organization with something they need to say. Now, here's the key. Each one of these stages is a potential point of failure. So a company like C.16, they encode a really complex technical benefit into an ad. That ad runs on a specific channel. A CIO, the target, then has to decode it. Well, if the symbols and language used to encode that message don't align with the CIO's frame of reference, the whole meaning is lost. And that decoding failure, that's a classic and very, very costly marketing error. And this brings us right to the concept of noise. Just imagine a complex wealth management ad from Truist, and it's filled with financial acronyms and industry jargon. For their target high net worth audience, it probably makes perfect sense. But for the general public, all that jargon is just noise. It totally obscures the message and makes the communication worthless. Let's make this real for a second. Think about the noise in your own job. You know, the confusing emails, the vague instructions. How do you spot it and how do you cut through it? Applying this model isn't just an academic thing. It's a critical skill for being an effective communicator in any professional setting. Okay, next up, we have to examine the strategic intent. Before a single dollar of the budget is spent, before any creative work is done, a marketer has to answer one fundamental question. What exactly are we trying to accomplish here? These are the strategic levers of promotion. Just think about the contrast and objectives. A campaign for a brand new service line from LabCorp is all about creating awareness and finding high-quality B2B prospects. On the other hand, a weekend sale at Food Lion is a tactical move, right? It's designed to stimulate immediate demand and just move inventory. Different objectives demand completely different strategies and tools. So we've moved from the why to the how, and now we're moving from strategy to execution. It's time to assemble the toolkit that marketers use to actually bring these objectives to life. So here they are, the 4 primary elements of the promotion mix. The best way to think of them is like instruments in an orchestra. Sure, one might play the lead melody, but the real impact, the real magic, comes from how they're all combined and balanced to achieve a specific goal. Let's consider the strategic trade-offs here. Lowe's uses mass advertising to reach millions of homeowners at a very low cost for each impression. But a B2B firm like IQVIA, selling incredibly complex data solutions, they have to rely on high-cost, high-impact personal selling. The right tool is always dictated by the product and the target market. This is the essential question every single marketer faces, especially if you're working in a smaller organization without a massive budget.
And the answer requires a really disciplined analysis of your specific situation.
So your decision really comes down to these factors. A limited budget might mean targeted digital ads are a much better bet than a huge national TV campaign. A geographically spread out audience might require totally different channels than one that's concentrated in one area. These variables are what guide your resource allocation from a strategic, data-informed point of view.
This slide illustrates a really fundamental strategic choice in how you manage your channels. Hanes Brands uses a classic push strategy. They use trade promotions and sales incentives to literally push its product through wholesalers and onto the shelves at retailers like Target. On the flip side, a craft brewery like Asheville's own Highland Brewing Company uses a pull strategy. They build up consumer desire through ads and local events so that you, the customer, walk into a bar and pull their brand through the channel by asking for it by name. All right, let's shift gears. In today's media world, some of the most powerful promotional channels aren't actually owned by the company at all. They're owned by its customers. So let's look at how we can leverage that incredible power.
Now, it's really important to distinguish between these two. Buzz marketing is typically events-driven. It's all about creating a moment, an experience that gets people talking. Viral marketing, on the other hand, is content-driven. That's about creating a message that's so compelling or funny or interesting that the audience does all the distribution work for you. One starts a conversation, the other is the conversation.
And this is where advertising is really evolving. Just look at carry-based Epic Games. The brand integrations they put inside Fortnite aren't interruptions to the game. They are part of the experience. This represents a massive shift, right? It's a way to reach a global audience that is actively engaged and often very, very resistant to traditional ads.
And finally, as part of a real business education, we have a responsibility to look critically at our own field. We have to consider the broader societal and ethical implications of the work that we do. So let's just go ahead and directly confront two of the most persistent criticisms that are leveled against the marketing profession. As a thoughtful professional, you need to be able to analyze and respond to these arguments.
So here's the counterargument, looking at it from an economic perspective. And yes, while deceptive practices absolutely exist and are legally regulated, promotion plays a vital role in a competitive market. By informing consumers and stimulating demand, it allows companies to achieve economies of scale in production, which can actually lower the cost per unit. And what's more, it fuels price competition, which is a direct benefit to you, the consumer.
This leads us to a really significant question that you will almost certainly face in your career. And there are no simple formulas here, no easy answers. The challenge is to start developing your ethical framework now so that when you are faced with these complex decisions down the road, you are prepared to act not just as an effective marketer, but as a responsible leader.